Alright guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Trash Panda Garage. It's March 2020. Grady gets an extra long spring break, so we get to spend more time in the shop. Today, we're talking about body lifts. Grady, do you know what a body lift is?
No.
Take a guess.
It's a thing where you lift your car.
Where you lift. That's pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. We'll figure it out here on this episode. So we've been chipping away at the to-do list for our project truck, a 2006 Nissan Frontier, and while I am not a fan of big body lifts, primarily due to concerns I have around increased leverage on the body mount and bolt shear, it turns out that a small body lift might actually help us fit this. This is the Atlas 2-speed divorce transfer case that we ordered for the truck, and I think even having a small body lift might minimize the amount of cutting I have to do to the floor pan to get this thing in. So before we got started, I tried to give Grady a short lesson on body-on-frame vehicles and what we had to do to actually lift the body. This is the frame rail, and then the body starts right here. So what's between the body and the frame? Not quite. Point to it. That's the engine. That's the engine. Between the body and the frame, that's an LED light bar. That's not even close. Down here, down here. I'm pointing the camera at it. I'm pointing the camera at it. What could it be? What could it be? You're close. You're close. Yes! That rubber thing you put your hands on?
Yeah.
That's the body mount. So, with a half-inch body lift in mind, I sourced some new metric bolts that had a slightly higher point of thread engagement that I thought would work. I then went through the engine compartment, identifying those hoses, wiring harnesses, and hard lines that had to be disconnected from their respective clamps. I also temporarily loosened the steering shaft coupler and verified that the radiator fan would still have clearance within the shroud if the body was lifted half an inch. After that, I just had to identify a suitable point underneath the body where I could place the jack. Then I could begin to loosen all of the body mount bolts. You can find some interesting things when you start tearing your truck apart, especially if it's a used vehicle. In our case, I found a spot where the body had been holding water and actually starting to rust out the bolts. I also discovered more evidence on the passenger side of the truck that at some point this thing's been in a front-end collision. So I had originally purchased some polyurethane spacers for this project, but once we installed those and started to torque down the bolts, I found that they were compressing and crushing. Which I wasn't happy with. So we started looking online and found someone on eBay who is custom cutting HDPE pucks. HDPE is a high-strength polymer that's self-lubricating and quite a bit more firm than the polyurethane. Seems like an ideal material for a body lift spacer. We had 6 of these sent to our house for $7.50, and I'm not sure I could have ordered my own roll of HDPE for that price, not to mention the time it would take me to cut and drill. So the spacers we ordered from eBay are the same diameter as the original factory body mount, which is ideal. I threw on a little bit of blue Loctite, torqued them down to 45 foot-pounds, and I think we'll be good to go. You may have picked up on the fact that we only body lifted the cabin, not the bed. That's another reason I'm not a big fan of body lifts, because I think if you add spacers to the bed, you're compromising the load capacity. So that's it for today's project. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Trash Panda Garage. All right, so maybe before we do too much work on the truck, we need to have an instructional video on how to put gloves on right. Oh my gosh.